Hi, you're with India Post Live. I'm Ishan Russell, and India Post Live is, of course, India's first online news conversation web TV where you too can participate in this conversation. Just log on to indiapostlive.com and post your comments, or you can use the Twitter handle at India Post Live or use the hashtag hashtag India Post Live to join in this conversation. Today, we're talking about the 28 seats of Karnataka in this Lok Sabha elections. Karnataka goes to the polls on the 17th, that's day after tomorrow. So, how are the semantics over there? How have the caste equations changed? What are the agendas over there? We have with us to discuss all that Mr. Umapathy. He's the senior editor of Vijay Karnataka. Also, Mr. Vijay Grover joins us from Bangalore. He's the editor of Point Out magazine. And Mr. Ilangovan joins us. He's an IT entrepreneur and has been working as part of various political campaigns in this one. And very interesting, he's working with two separate parties as a campaigner for this election. But first, how is Karnataka shaping up? Well, let's take you through that story.
Who will lead the charge in the Silicon Valley? It is also the state that the BJP termed Gateway of the South. The 28 seats of Karnataka are crucial to both the BJP and the Congress, while Devagowda's JDS is eyeing a role for himself at the centre too. However, the BJP claims a Modi wave. It is yet relying on former Chief Minister B.S. Yediyurappa to help them regain the sizable Lingayat vote. The Lingayats had voted for the Congress in the 2013 Assembly elections that helped Siddaramaiah become the Chief Minister.
Court is given complete clean sheet to the येदियुरप्पा जी एंड जहाँ तक उनके इस्तीफे का सवाल है, जैसे ही उन पर एक आरोप लगा, उन्होंने मॉरल ग्राउंड पर उस चीफ मिनिस्टर पर से इस्तीफा दे दिया पोस्ट से. उसके बाद जब उनको क्लीन चिट मिली तो वो फिर पार्टी में ज्वाइन किया, उन्होंने पार्टी में आए.
To stay in the political discourse, Gowda threatened to leave Karnataka if Modi came to power. Modi promptly invited Gowda to move to Gujarat. The battle of words has given some color to the election. Both Gowda and Modi must be wondering why they make such offers when none means anything they blurted out caught in a war of words.
All right, so how is Karnataka, where is it going, the 28 seats? Let's try to find that out. And if you have a comment, if you have a view, join us. Let's have a chat about it. Mr. Umapathy, 28 seats in Karnataka, very critical for the Lok Sabha elections. How are they shaping up?
Actually, BJP is still licking its wounds from its latest defeat in assembly elections. Congress has gathered its act together, and Congress is doing well in my view, and Congress has an edge over BJP in Karnataka because BJP has not been able to polarize voters as it has done in Western UP so far. They may extend it to other parts of UP also, but in Karnataka they have not been able to polarize voters on the basis of Hindus and Muslims so far.
All right, so interesting point. Vijay, I'd like to get you in because you really have your ear to the ground. You've spent years covering Karnataka, the length and breadth of it, and even neighboring states. So, what are your sources saying? What is your assessment of the situation over there? Would you agree that the Congress has an upper hand in Karnataka, unlike any other state in India this time around?
Well, Ishan, the same thing very clearly stands out is the fact that the Congress is in a do-or-die situation, especially for the Chief Minister Siddaramaiah. It's the biggest challenge because this is the acid test of his popularity, his work 11 months after he took charge. And that's the reason why we've seen him that throughout the campaign, he's been at the forefront. Now, the biggest challenge for the Congress over here is also to the fact that it has to do better than the BJP. And that's where we see that, sinking differences, keeping them aside. We are seeing the Congress working together and trying to ensure that they are able to do a better job. For the BJP, though they have gotten Sri Ramulu back into the party, they've got Yediyurappa back into the party, but these have not added to the strength of the party for the simple reason that the corruption charges against Yediyurappa, the corruption charges against Sri Ramulu are something that it's finding very difficult to defend and justify, and that's where this big challenge is where we see the Congress having a certain edge.
All right, interesting points he makes over there as far as both the Congress and the BJP, their fortunes. So we've established broadly where I think how this election is shaping up, and it's pretty close. But I want to go across to Mr. Ilango and talk about Bangalore first, because Bangalore is one of those cities where it is very crucial in terms of the election over there, and you have high-profile candidates like Nandan Nilekani fighting, and Mr. Ilango, you seem to be campaigning for both the AAP and the Congress in Bangalore. How's that happening? Tell our viewers.
Yeah. So yeah, it's tough, thing for me to explain to people when I say I am supporting the best candidate in each constituency. So in Bangalore, we probably have one of the best candidates in Nandan Nilekani. So it was an honor to support him. And then again, I realized that Balakrishnan, who's in UP, he's right from Bangalore Central. Again, I believe he's one of the best candidates or the best candidate out of Bangalore Central. So one of the reasons we are doing it, this is if you look at the cost of fighting elections in India, right? The root of corruption, in my view, starts from there, right? Because the cost of fighting elections over the years has gone up, right? And even if you take UP, which has probably got the lowest cost model in fighting elections, probably globally, right? They probably collected about 20 crores for the Delhi Assembly elections. So if you extrapolate that, translates to about 20 crores for 7 Lok Sabha constituencies. Right? So if let's say AAP wants to fight 200 seats in this Lok Sabha elections, that translates to close to 600 crores. So that is for AAP, which is considered to be one of the lowest cost models in fighting elections. So now you think of what traditional parties like Congress and BJP or anybody else would assume in terms of the cost of fighting an election, right? So the cost is tremendously. So unless we come into politics, unless we help bring down the cost of elections, one thing that can happen is by people volunteering and force the parties to come up with the best candidate, right? For example, in Bangalore South, Nandan is strictly going by of 70 lakhs. Which is for the which is what the Election Commission model code of conduct says, and we are running a clean campaign. We are strictly going with the model code of conduct in terms of both the letter and spirit. And I can see when I see the Bala campaign also in Bangalore. That's what is happening.
All right,
so my point is, unless people like us volunteer and support the best candidate, parties are not going to be forced to name the best candidate clean caput in their constituencies.
The best candidate that he's talking about. Is that a trend that we can see as far as Bangalore is concerned, that people would vote for the best candidate, or still the considerations for caste or political allegiances still matter more than the candidates itself?
Of course, those considerations are still there, but people are, Nandan Nilekani has made a difference because he doesn't have any baggage. There is no charges, no corruption charges against him, and except Aadhar maybe it's a different debate altogether. He brings in a freshness into politics. So people are open to it, and Nilekani is being encouraged in Bangalore South. The very fact that Anant Kumar is struggling this time indicates to that point.
All right, Vijay, I'd like to get you in. You've obviously observed the political career and even otherwise the career of Nandan Nilekani for a long time. So, how would you place it? Can Bangalore put behind the old considerations of caste or of political alliances, allegiances, and talk about better candidates, best candidates? And what's the situation on the ground? Is he even winning?
Well, see, as far as Bangalore South is concerned, it can be considered as one of the most cosmopolitan constituencies of the state. We have people from every diverse linguistic background, or caste basis, or religious background who are voters over here. So certainly, while there may be certain castes which do play a dominant role, but there are voters from every caste who are coming out and voting. Historically, talking about this particular constituency, let me tell you, it has a very bad track record of voting. we've seen that it has never gone beyond 40 to 45% polling in this particular constituency, because most of the people, especially the migrants, do not connect with the local politics, and that's where we see the difference. But this time around, thanks to the contribution of AAP into making the middle class politically active, we are seeing that more people have registered. We have nearly 2 lakh fresh voters, and that could be the crucial and deciding factor in this particular constituency, because there is a kind of excitement where people want to go out and vote, and this is something which Nandan certainly is looking at, because the campaign that we saw was hinging around the fact that he went to the schools, colleges, he went to educational institutions, he went to IT companies, spoke to them, and that's something that he's highlighted as far as making them to at least think about voting, if not ensuring that they come out and vote.
All right, Vijay, but what about the Modi wave that the entire country seems to be under? That's what the BJP claims. And also, what about the AAP factor? All these things in a city like Bangalore, especially, I mean, the rest of the Karnataka might still be a little bit in a time warp as far as caste and regional and other considerations go. But what about the Modi wave and the AAP factor on the ground?
Well, see, as far as the Modi wave is concerned, certainly it is not there in Karnataka. That can be very clearly felt, because the kind of impact if Modi had, it would have been seen also in the assembly elections 10 months back. But we did not see that. And at the moment also, though Modi has come over here, there have been engineered crowds which have been brought to the rallies. But that is something which is a part and parcel of the campaign. But will he be able to transform things for Anant Kumar? That certainly remains a big question, because we see that a 5-time MP is going around asking votes in the name of Modi. And will the people, especially the educated class, because it's the most literate constituency, also incidentally, be falling into the trap where religious divide, communal divides, or even caste divides are going to make any difference on whether people want a particular person, in this case Narendra Modi, to be in saddle, or they want somebody who would be an effective MP, because Bangalore today has a lot of challenges of infrastructure, and that's what Nandan's campaign has been about. That forget who comes to center. You deserve a good MP, and I'm going to be it.
All right, interesting. But would you agree with that? That kind of commentary can hold sway over the electorate of, say, Bangalore South?
I entirely agree with Vijay. Bangalore South is a very cosmopolitan constituency, and people vote for an enlightened candidate who can make a change, who can make a difference to their lives, daily lives, and such things.
All right, what about the AAP? Do you think that will hold any sway outside of Bangalore, or will it be restricted to Bangalore, and could it be a spoiler in the kind of political equations that are happening over there?
AAP would be, by and large, AAP would be limited to Bangalore, and they may not even play spoil sports also. AAP is not, it is not in the reckoning actually.
But that's odd, Vijay, because I remember with AAP, I mean, one of the founding members was from Bangalore. You had a lot of support pouring in from Bangalore. Is AAP a factor in Bangalore?
Well, see, Ishan, this time around, AAP is certainly struggling, as this is something which we see. And importantly, what's also happening is the fact that we are seeing that AAP has been a non-starter, primarily because the support that initially we saw was more for Anna Hazare than for Arvind Kejriwal. And after the fiasco that we've seen in Delhi, where Arvind Kejriwal shied away from responsibility, has become a big problem for people to be convinced as to whether they should be seen aligned with a party like Aam Aadmi Party. And because the kind of campaign that we've seen, unfortunately, does not seem to be converting into votes. Most of the campaigns of AAP, if you see, are weekend, where the IT crowds, who otherwise would be spending time shopping, are actually spending time campaigning. But that's more of political adventurism, I would call it, and not serious campaigns, which mean that more and more people would come out and vote. I foresee a situation where AAP in most of the constituencies in Karnataka would be even forfeiting their deposits.
All right, Ilangovan, I think you would want to come in on that because you've been supporting the AAP so far. So, what would you have to say? Vijay is saying that even the deposits might get forfeited with the AAP. It's been a non-starter. You couldn't really capture the initial movement that was there, the initial momentum. Ilangovan, can you hear me?
Yeah, sorry, can you repeat the question? Sorry.
Yeah, I was saying our panelists seem to be suggesting that the AAP is a non-factor in the Karnataka elections, that the initial momentum and the support that it had been able to get the AAP in Bangalore, that it seems to have lost and could even candidates could even end up losing their deposits this time around.
Okay, so whatever I hear you. So from whatever I can get, right? Yeah, I do agree that the Delhi short government in Delhi did leave a few people up supporters frustrated. But I think what we are seeing is the fact that some of the high-profile candidates have come in, be it the people, right? So that has definitely re-energized up in some sense, right? And it's not, from whatever I can see from the rallies and the workers and all that, it's just not just the IT, right? We do see people from across the. So what we see, there are people who are very, very frustrated with what is going on in terms of corruption and day-to-day corruption, etc. So while people like Nandan could work with people in the system who can help solve the problems, I think people like Bala in AAP could actually work against those corrupt people who will be forced to mend their ways or get out. Right. So that is the way I see this. There was a drop in energy levels, but I think it has come back with the high-profile candidates who are coming.
All right, so high-profile candidates. We've spoken a lot about Bangalore, but then Bangalore is not just Karnataka. Karnataka is much bigger, much wider. So let's talk about the other states. Let's talk about Bellary for that matter. Bellary is one of those high-profile constituencies that Sonia Gandhi and Sushma Swaraj infamously fought over. But the Bellary brother and their friend Sriramalu posed a bit of a problem for the BJP. But has the BJP played a MasterCard with these brothers, trying to get them back into the party? Especially Sriramalu?
BJP has tried its best. That is the best it could have got, but still it's not the best in terms of making difference actually. The person who is contesting on Congress ticket is he has lost the last election. He lost by some.
Who's that? Anil?
No. This was Justice N.Y. Hanumanthappa.
Okay.
He was Chief Justice of Orissa High Court. He lost by a very, very, very narrow margin, like 300 or 400 votes or so. So this time he belongs to the same caste as Sriramalu does. So he is going to give a very tough fight this time, and these Reddys have been discredited a lot, like Sriramalu. Sriramalu is one of them, and they are up against the wall this time.
All right, and let's talk about the big why. Why did the BJP get the big why back into the party, and how they're dealing with it? Yediyurappa, I'm talking about the big why over here, and the fact that he had to resign on corruption charges, the fact that the party didn't stand by him, and does he still hold that sway over the Lingayat votes, the all-critical Lingayat votes, as political commentators say in Karnataka?
Unfortunately for BJP, Yediyurappa cannot make the kind of difference which BJP expected him to do to the party, and he has realized it. And Karnataka BJP, instead of relying on Yediyurappa, they are relying on Modi wave, which is not to be seen. Which is, I believe, my senior colleagues on the ground, they say that it's limited to hoardings and posters and media. And they are bombarding with advertisements and such things, So, Lingaites also have, they are not behind Yediyurappa solidly this time. Because they are disillusioned with what he did with KJP and deserting BJP. So, they are divided, Lingaites also. That's why he's not been campaigning actively this time. He's not been asked to also. He has realized it.
Right, interesting. But there are like 6 chief ministers, I believe, who are in the election fray this time around.
That's right.
So you have a lot of high-profile candidates. Can we expect a lot of upsets, or do you think it'll go along more lines of the high-profile candidates managing to pull their elections through? And this is across the board. So you have Nandan Nilekani from the Congress, you have B.S. Yedurappa standing from Shimoga, you have other Congress chief ministers, former chief ministers also contesting. So how do you see that shaping up?
That's an interesting, actually very interesting development. Kumar Swamy is contesting against Moili.
Yeah.
It's anybody's victory over there. And Mallikarjun Kharge is against a minister. He is up against a minister, a former minister of BJP. I think Mallikarjun Kharge will be through. Kharge, I'm sorry. And then Deve Gowda is there. And he is struggling a lot.
What about
I
the
get
JDS
reports
this
that he is
time
struggling a lot.
What about the JDS? Because Deve Gowda has famously said that if Modi becomes the Prime Minister, I will leave India. So, I mean, is he in a position to say
I
this
look
seat?
at it as a posture by Deve Gowda. It's a clever posturing by him to appease Muslims. Because he has lost Muslim constituency heavily. Muslims are not behind him this time. Because they are disillusioned. After BJP, JDS joining hands with BJP, now Muslims are solidly behind this time with Congress. They are with Congress. And they want to defeat BJP. Whichever party, like they are doing a tactical voting in UP, they are going to resort to the tactical voting in Karnataka also.
How many seats, if you have any figures, or how much of an influence would, say, the Muslim vote have in Karnataka?
Muslims are around 11 to 12% in Karnataka.
But are there a couple of seats where they're a critical factor in terms of they could really swing the election?
I don't see. They are there all over. They can make a difference.
All right, interesting point you make out there. What do you think about the battle for Karnataka? Do join us. IndiaPostLive.com is the name of the website. You can log in and post your comments over there. Or you can also use Twitter at IndiaPostLive is a Twitter handle, or hashtag IndiaPostLive to your tweets to join in the conversation. Let's get in a couple of Twitter comments that have come in. In fact, there was one by Sarab Chadda who said that Yedurappa is not going to be much of a factor, and you're pointing that out as well. We seem to have Elangovan back on Google Hangout. Elangovan, a lot of high-profile candidates, and you seem to be campaigning for candidates this time around. But apart from Bangalore, in your travels across Karnataka, do you see that the state has moved beyond the fact that the candidate is not as important as what the message the party is sending out, or the caste equation is there? I mean, what's the sense that you get from the rest of Karnataka other than Bangalore?
I think in general, I think people are getting fed up of the traditional politics, right? So I think that is the other sense we are actually getting. Yeah, even though probably we were able to get the candidates in Bangalore, so I think there's probably some way to go in the smaller towns and in rural Karnataka and all that. But yes, I think whether it happens in the selection or not, I think that probably is what is going to happen going forward, because clearly we are seeing that people are not just, first people refuse to go and vote long back, saying, anyway, they're all, corrupt. And I think that is changing now to say that, the voting percentages are going up, there. Third, we are also seeing people coming in and saying, what, just voting is not enough, because politics and governance too important to be left or outsourced to the traditional politicians and bureaucrats. So I think that trend is coming in. So I think this is going to force parties to, pick better candidates as you move forward. But yes, yeah, there are areas where you will see the traditional, voting patterns continue. But there are areas where the new kind of politics, new gen politicians are definitely making a difference.
All right, if you talk about the big issues, is there any pan-Karnataka issue that is there in this election? Because, and how much of the corruption price rise issue that the Congress has been facing at the central level and in subsequent elections, for example, the Delhi government also faced that flack because of what the central government wasn't able to do or control. Do you see that happening in Karnataka as far as the Congress is concerned? That kind of a pan
Of
state?
course, it's happening. It's anti-incumbency, votes against the central government. But Siddaramaiah, by and large, has been successful in tiding over this anti-incumbency by populist measures he has taken on, and they are more or less they've started working on the ground.
All right, so the working on the ground is what perhaps the Congress has done well in the state and has not been able to do well in other states. So can the Congress buck the trend in Karnataka? What do you think? Write into us at indiapostlive.com. That's the name of the website, or hashtag IndiaPostLive to your tweets, or use our Twitter handle at IndiaPost. Elangovan, I'm going to give you the final word before we let you go. We obviously know your candidates for Bangalore South and Central, and who do you think would win over there? But overall, if we talk about the 28 seats of Karnataka, where do you think they will go this time around?
You asking me?
Yes. Hi, can you hear me?
Yeah, you're asking me. Sorry. Yeah.
Yeah.
I think. My sense is it probably is 50% between MM or probably Congress may get better than 50% out here. That's my sense. Right.
Alright.
And the fact that Yediyurappa is back is hurting some constituencies because of his corrupt past and Sriramuli, etc., etc. But I think that also probably brings back some of the votes that got split in the assembly elections. So in that sense, probably BJP will do better than in the past. But yeah, probably not enough to cross 50% over here. Yeah.
All right, thanks so much for coming in. Umapati sir, I'll give you the final word. Out of 28, how many would you give the Congress, the BJP, or the JDS? Or how do you see it?
Yeah, I more or less agree with Telangavan. Congress should not be getting less than 15. And BJP was at its lowest ebb some 6 months ago. Now they have recouped. They may come around 10 or so.
And the JDS is...
JDS is going to get maximum 2
All right.
or maximum 3.
And the ARP is not a factor that...
ARP is not a factor.
All right.
They have lost it.
All right, they seem to have lost it. But what do you think? If you disagree with our experts over here, do write into us. IndiaPostLive.com, as I always say, is the name of the website. So what do you think of Bangalore? What do you think of Karnataka, this battle for Karnataka? Well, it's day after tomorrow, but till then, you can write into us, tell us, and we'll continue this chatter over Twitter now. All right, thanks so much for joining in.